Hey guys, it's Brandon, Breath of Fire. And today I want to share something with you that honestly surprised me the first time I saw this and the first time I noticed it. Like you, I have read the Exodus story, really my whole life. I've heard sermons about the Exodus. I've heard stories about freedom. I've heard stories about deliverance. I've heard stories about miracles, all regarding the Exodus story. But there's a small detail in the story that almost never gets talked about, and once I saw it, it completely changed how I understood and viewed the Exodus. I began to see it not just as a rescue story, which it absolutely is, but I began to see it as a blueprint. And so I want to talk to you today about this blueprint. Let's just kind of set the landscape here, right? Israel was under full, oppression from the Egyptians. They were slaves, but they weren't just slaves, right? They were literally an entire nation that had been economically stripped for generations. They owned no land, they had no assets, they had no savings. Everything they produced went into the Egyptian system. And so if they were going to leave Egypt and survive as a free people, they were going to need some provision, right, for the journey ahead. Now, there's two passages of scripture that I think are absolutely vital to understanding the blueprint and to locking in on the little treasure, the little nugget that we're after today. The first verse I'm getting ready to share, I don't want you to miss this. This verse is taking place like before the plagues, right? Before Pharaoh loses his son and his heart breaks and all that. This is way before the actual Red Sea event that we all know. But in this particular passage, we're going to see God give Moses a very specific instruction. The first passage we're going to look at, guys, is Exodus chapter 3, verses 10 through 22. And today I'm reading from the NLT. And so this passage reads this. It says, "But I know that the king of Egypt will not let you go unless a mighty hand forces him. So I will raise my hand and strike the Egyptians, performing all kinds of miracles among them. Then at last he will let you go." Verse 21, "And I will cause the Egyptians to look favorably on you. They will give you gifts when you go, so you will not leave empty handed. Every Israelite woman will ask for articles of silver and gold and fine clothing from her Egyptian neighbors and from the foreign women in their houses. You will dress your sons and daughters with these, stripping the Egyptians of their wealth." Whew, guys, I hope you caught that. You see, God just didn't promise like freedom, right? He gave freedom, obviously, but he wasn't just promising freedom. He was promising provision. He was promising wealth. He was promising a transfer of wealth. And notice, guys, that God tells them literally what to do before this grand moment ever arrives, right? And so this wasn't accidental. This 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 wealth transfer, it wasn't just Israel grabbing whatever they could in the middle of the chaos on their way out. God was establishing a divine strategy, and he prepared his people ahead of time so that they would not miss the opportunity when it came. But the key thing, guys, is that obedience was required, not after the miracle, but before it. So now let's fast forward to the actual night of the Exodus. And I'm going to read the second passage. It's a little bit later on in Exodus, chapter 12. Now we're in verse 33 through 36. And it says, "All the Egyptians urged the people of Israel to get out of the land as quickly as possible, for they thought, 'We will all die.' The Israelites took their bread dough before yeast was added. They wrapped their kneading boards in their cloaks and carried them on their shoulders." And pay attention to verse 35 and 36, guys. "And the people of Israel did as Moses had instructed. They asked the Egyptians for clothing and articles of silver and gold. the Lord caused the Egyptians to look favorably on the Israelites, and it gave the Israelites whatever they asked for. So they stripped the Egyptians of their wealth. Man, that's so good, guys. I mean, that last sentence changes everything. Israel just didn't walk out of Egypt being free, they walked out being funded. That's right. A great wealth transfer took place because God had given the people a simple set of instructions that they needed to do in a very unique moment. It was time sensitive, right? And so they obeyed the word of the Lord, received the wealth of Egypt as they exited. I mean, it's mind blowing. We always think of the escape from oppression, but God just didn't, remove oppression from the Israelites. He actually restored their capacity, right? And he provided, he made provision. Those same hands that, made a bunch of clay bricks and stuff, those hands were now adorned with jewelry and bracelets and all that good stuff. And those same hands would soon build a temple. The wealth of Egypt that night, it wasn't lost, guys. I mean, they did bounce back, but the wealth of Egypt that night was transferred. And a large part of Egypt's wealth went to the Israelites. And so God had a plan. He made sure that the wealth of Egypt went into the hands of his people because he was about to shape the people into a great nation. So, what if, guys, what if this event wasn't just history? What if it was a blueprint, a pattern? God has always worked through patterns and he's always worked through moments where systems kind of shift and nations kind of rise and fall. And so really the question, is never, will opportunity come, right? It's really whether or not people are going to be, in tune enough to one, recognize the moment, two, seek God's instruction regarding it, and then number three, of course, moving and taking action and obeying that instruction. I mean, imagine, guys, if the Israelites left Egypt, but they did not obey the simple instruction God had given them to receive that transfer of wealth. Yes, the Israelites would have been physically free, but they still financially would have been slaves and impoverished. I don't want us to be living in a free nation, but to still be financially enslaved and bound because we weren't smart enough or obedient enough to do a simple action that the Lord had prepared for us in a divine moment to receive a great transfer of wealth. And so, guys, that's one of the reasons I wrote my latest ebook that I just released. It's called X Marks the Spot. I wrote it not to predict markets and things like that, but to help people see biblical patterns that they may have overlooked, patterns and things that lead to a great wealth transfer, right? And this is because even though, again, we live in a physically free nation, I want us to see us financially free, and I want us walking in supernatural provision and abundance, just like the Israelites did when they left Egypt. It's so good, guys. And so, guys, if this perspective resonates with you, I can unpack a lot more of this in the ebook, X Marks the Spot. I'm going to leave a link in the description to that book so you can get it. And I just want to say, guys, thanks for walking with me on this journey into generational wealth God's way. As always, I love you. I'm praying for you. I'm believing God's best for you this year, guys. Things are going to begin to move in ways that we haven't seen before. And so, again, I love you, and I'm going to catch you on the next video. Be blessed.